Hey guys, this video we're going to go ahead and kind of build on what we started learning about yesterday as far as the inverse relationship between logs and exponents or exponentials. So, and we're going to tackle some easy problems and then a couple of more challenging ones, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So find the inverse for each one of these functions. Find the inverse for each one of these functions. So if you think about what you did yesterday, you probably won't have any trouble, but we'll want to kind of build this up for handling stuff that's a little more challenging. So pause and please do that. Okay, so if you thought, well, Mr. DeVore, doesn't this mean we just take this as an exponential form and convert it into a log form? Isn't that just what this is? And you'd be 100% right. Yeah, so if you just rewrote this, okay, in its log form, you actually have its inverse. But let's take it through the steps that we would do for any function. Okay, so just think about any function. Like I say, the first step, I would just exchange these. And when we want to find the inverse, we want to get y alone. And we learned now how to do that, how to isolate y with logs. So then we would go log base 4 raised to the power of y returns x. We have that. And that's exactly what that is. That's our inverse function. These two are inverses to each other and vice versa. Okay, so let's go over here to this one. The same idea here, it would just like as if we were going log to exponent, exponential. Okay, and here we go, okay, I'm going to go ahead and switch these, right? Log 5y. And now, well, it's going to be 5 raised to the power of y, right? 5 raised to the power of y returns x. And so where does that x go? There. So now we have that as our inverse. Pretty easy. Okay. All right, so now we're going to tackle some that are a little harder. But the one thing I want to just remind you that when you're doing this, to be able to use this nice, easy definition of a logarithm, is you want to get this alone, right? In other words, you want to get this part alone, okay? And then whatever you have to do to get this alone, only when you get this, you can go ahead and apply a log to that. Same thing here. Once you get this alone, it's base and argument. Only then can you go ahead and exponentiate that, okay? So there we go. All right, so please pause and give these a try, and I'll come back and do these one by one. Okay, hopefully you're back. Okay. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do this just like any function, right? I'm gonna swap my x and y, and now what do we do? Well, log base 5. Right, so that's going to be log base 5 raised to the, well, that just comes over here, returns x. So we have this, okay. But the thing is, we don't have y alone yet. What do we have to do to get y alone? And we just multiply both sides by 2, easy peasy. So I hope you got that. Now, one thing I did want to point out, and this might even show up in the key for our worksheet, you may see something like this, and this is a property that we haven't learned yet, but we will learn and prove, okay? You may see this and this 2. Where did the 2 go? It's going to be an exponent on the argument, okay? So we haven't talked about that yet, but these two are equivalent, okay? Okay, so here, now remember I said you want to get this alone first. Okay, so really the first thing I do, well, after I swap the x and y, I'm going to subtract 6, and now I'm all prepared to go. So here, well, log 3 raised to the, well, y returns, and this whole thing is the argument. Okay, that whole thing is the argument. So that's our inverse to that. Okay. Oh, but let me back up 1 second here. Absolutely crucial you put these parentheses, because this is completely different than, you know, log 3x minus 6, because that's saying this 6 is just being tacked onto this, and it's not. It's part of the argument, Okay, so really, really, really remember those parentheses. Okay, here, this should be easy because look, it's all set up for us, right? We'll swap our variables, and then it's exponentiate, right? 4 raised to the power of 4 raised to the power of x returns 3y, and at this point, we just divide both sides by 3. Simple. Okay, equally as simple, right? Well, be careful. Remember, we want to get this alone first. That's typically what happens is students start jumping in and stuff, first. So I'm going to go ahead and exchange my variables, but now I'm going to divide both sides by 7. Now, and only now, once we get the log part alone here with its argument, once we get that alone, can we apply it. So 2 raised to the power of x over 7 is going to return y. Okay, so those are all basic, and what you noticed is that every time that we had a log, right, the inverse will always be exponential. And when we had an exponential, it'll always be log. But what happens in a problem like this? Give this one a try. Okay, pause and try this one on your own. Okay, so if you did this, right, let's just do it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and 3, and this is going to be 2 raised to the yth power. Okay, now again, I want to get that y alone, but I have this log here. Remember, this y is like this. I'm going to go ahead and say, well, 3, right, raised to the power of 2y returns x. So I'm at this point here. I'm at this point. Well, remember, for it to be an inverse function, I have to have y alone. So y is not alone. But now we do know how to get y alone. We just go, okay, now I'm going to do it again. This time, it's going to be log, right, base 2 raised to the y returns, and we have to make sure that we know that this whole thing is the argument. And that's our inverse, okay? So there's something I think is kind of interesting here when you have a situation like this, when we have these two are inverses of each other. I mean, look at that, okay? Look what's happening here. We're just switching those. Cool. I don't know if that'll help you, because you'll probably end up doing it without that little shortcut, but it's there. So anyway, okay, guys. So this worksheet is a little more challenging than yesterday. Yesterday was pretty easy. So make sure to complete this in class, and your homework is right there. Okay, we'll catch you later.